Okay, hi Dennis, Pastor Dennis Acraman. Great to have you today on our call, and really just excited to hear about what you guys have been doing over in Whitianga in relation to APES. So, yeah, just hand over to you, Dennis.
Sure. Yeah, hi, Darren. We have been revisiting APEST. Of course, the concept is not new to us, something we've worked in for 50 years, just looking at how it is applied to our own ministry. And in recent times, we've been talking to people in the church. We've actually run them through the APEST score test that's online. We've condensed the results of that. We've then loaded those into an Excel spreadsheet and have created some graphs so that we can just get a visual idea of how gifts have been dispersed within our church. I must say that it has been met with great enthusiasm in the church because people immediately feel that they have somewhere a place to belong and they have gifts that they carry that are going to contribute to the church and what it does. So we're very positive about it and finding the whole process very helpful.
Awesome. Okay, that's just great to hear, Dennis. And yeah, I'd just like to explore a few of those things that you've talked about. I know from conversations in the past that you started off by really working with your leaders around their APES giftings. I'd love to hear how you've gone about that, and also what the impact has been for the leadership within the church.
I think as much as anything, it has created just a lot of dialogue. And this has been quite productive because people are talking about where they're going, and we're talking about what the actual needs are in the church. And so when we've talked about church planting and other things, there are some people that are very, very much early adapters that have suddenly gone, oh, this is great. I'll jump into this immediately and start trying to unpack my call. Um, there's a few kind of little struggles along the way. I think the important thing that we have seen is that we can't lose sight of what the scriptural qualifications, as you see in First Timothy 3, 8 to 13, are around the quality required of deacons or servants in the church. So we can't ever move away from just the focus on the experiential side of people coming into their gifts. They must actually comply with some standards. And I guess we've seen already a few people that have got very excited declaring their giftedness, but actually are seriously lacking in character.
That's great, Dennis. I'd love to hear a little, obviously the connection between APES and discipleship is a very important one. I'd love to maybe if you could unpack that a little bit more, just from your own experience and what you're seeing.
Yeah, so for I think people are hungry for personal a personal affirmation and a sort of a self-actualizing of the abilities and strengths that are inherent within them. So telling people that you are special and that you've been specially gifted is always going to, ring quite true with them because it is true, but it can play to that, self-serving side in some circumstances. So as people are awakened, they have to also realize they're being discipled in that process. And to a certain extent, it's like part of discipling is the mentoring of the mentor, basically telling the apprentice, you do it my way until I'm confident to give you the reins so that you can, do it your way in your own particular expression. So that learning the rules of the house, so to speak, and
Mm,
ruling
mm,
and understanding what your concerns are is actually quite important. And
mm,
for instance, in the case of somebody who's, and I have this current situation, somebody who's a very good teacher,
mm.
um, only to discover he's actually quite unteachable. So what do you do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you get somebody that's just very young and brimming with enthusiasm for evangelist,
Mm,
it's not just about telling them, okay, get that anointing going, getting that flow going.
mm,
Uh, there are essential wisdoms that are required to take on board. They just can't go around, for instance, and visit ladies by themselves so they can share the gospel with them.
mm,
Practical example.
mm,
Or delay too long in the street talking to a woman if they're street witnessing by
mm,
themselves
mm.
and
Yeah.
it being an inappropriate discussion.
That's cool. So I mean, I'd be interested in what you've noticed with your leaders. Like one of the kinds of elements is that sometimes understanding your APS gifting can also help to understand some of the kind of little conflict points, sort of heat points that can happen within a leadership team, where someone's maybe gifted in a different way, and it helps to understand the different perspectives. Has that, have you noticed anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I do, and we've done this in this recent kind of review of APEST, but have often talked to people about their different giftedness and how that can be a potential element of conflict. And in this last week or two, we've been managing a particular situation where somebody's very strongly gifted in one area and the other person is completely in a different area.
Mm,
And the example probably can be best summed up in one person is a person of learning that likes to live in the tent and never go outside. The other person is as a huntsman in the field
mm,
and not too interested in books. But they've come to mutually respect each other. But one sees the reading of books and information as fairly sort of pointless. They just want you to get out there and get involved in the action.
yeah.
And the other person wants to get all the thinking right before they do anything, and
Mm.
consequently don't really do anything.
So one's a strong a teacher, and the other's a strong, more apostolic or evangelistic.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's really useful and helping people to understand, what's actually going on. One of the things you spoke to me about a while back was how you introduced APEST to the church, and I think Tonga was involved. I'd love to hear that story because I think it's quite, really useful for others to hear.
Yeah, well, Tonga loves practical kind of interaction with the congregation. And I didn't know that he'd got so excited about APEST. And he just decided off the bat he's going to give a 5 minute talk about what people are orientated to. And then he's going to set up five APEST kind of labels around the church. And then basically said to them, if you have an apostolic, go over there. You prophetic people, go over there, et cetera, et cetera. And then he just broke the whole congregation up. And so people went over there, and both Minna and I were astounded at how such a simple preliminary explanation immediately struck a chord. And in the groups that we went and visited, it was exactly right. We could see it. We were astounded that they didn't need that information on board to immediately start to relating. And he had been on to the APS website, Alan Hirsch's one, and downloaded some
Mm,
uh, information. And at each particular station that people went to, he had just put a sheet of paper there for questions that they were to discuss
mm,
and report back to at the end of it. And
wow.
it was amazing. And for me, I would have taken several hours to give the explanations and do a real big dig, and do a personality analysis and get some prophetic words. But no, they just immediately orientated, and you could just see the Lord was in it. And
Yeah.
more importantly, we have seen fruit from that,
Mm,
and fruit that has come from such a simple relating is people starting to do stuff.
mm,
And evangelists were suddenly hearing they did what? That's fantastic. And we're kind of walking around hearing news rather than trying to initiate new things for people to do or anything. They're just doing them, and that's great.
Wow, wow, that's phenomenal. Because I was interested in hearing more about what you've noticed has occurred as a result of going down this track. So there's a sense of energizing of people into different tasks and elements of the life of the church. Anything else you've noticed, kind of downstream from what you've been doing?
Yeah, whether it's your downstream maybe, but I think that in the background is that we know that we're currently in a time of refreshing as a church, and I say that use that term that some may say revival. I would prefer not to use that term. I would say that people that come to our church wind up having a refreshing experience of their Christian life and their vital service for the Lord. And we've seen even this last week somebody who, when they came here, it was a lady and she'd lost a child some years ago and had never recovered and would not open her mouth or say anything, that she was a trained school teacher. And we've just seen the Lord just gradually meet with her, and they've had this information on board. But there's the part of the background is that God is actually healing their lives and bringing parts of their lives into order in accordance with his call for them. And I think so. That's the important thing. I think it's a very important thing um, that we're not just equipping people in order that they might find a call, but we're helping them to accept before God that they actually have a call, and we're wanting them to equip because of that.
Mm,
And there's a big significance in the difference there.
mm, mm. That's excellent. Um, Dennis, can I ask you uh, where to from here for you guys in relation to, like what I love about is how you've used the test, you've got yourselves organized, you've got a sense of what God is, the giftings within the church through the spreadsheet, the graph. Um, you're already seeing some fruit of this. What do you kind of see as happening next for you guys?
Well, as another part of the background scenario, we have a Zoom church prayer meeting. I think there's about 13 or 14 on there this morning just for our church. And what we're finding is that the people that become involved in the prayer initiatives
Mm,
are actually finding an awakening of their primary gifts at the same time. Now,
mm,
they're not all just prophetic people. They've got other people with different types of gifts. But as they've revived prayer in their lives, they are also finding that, and we're seeing that they're coming into their own. And what I love is that they are initiating stuff, and I mean, you get tired in the ministry, and it's so refreshing when people come along and say, I'm feeling inspired to do this. And now we're kind of more keeping an eye on, some of the constraints, like, that warns us in First Timothy 3:6 for new appointments and new ministries.
mm,
There mustn't be recent converts.
mm,
Um, ministries actually need to be tested. So as people are released, we need to make sure that we've got the pastoral constraints that are in place, and people feel that we are actually monitoring, watching, and are prepared to step in where
mm.
necessary.
Wow. Yeah, that's just thank you so much, Dennis, for sharing today. It's just incredibly beneficial for us to hear what God is doing in and through you guys and in
Yeah.
the church in Whitianga. Really encouraging. So bless you, and thank you for your input today.